The sun was hot over the poor village of Nuba, where the sand burned under bare feet and the wind smelled like dust. In this village lived a young man named Obasi. He was tall, thin, and his clothes were old. His small mud house had a roof, made of dry leaves, and when it rained, water came inside. But Obasi had a strong heart. His mother had died when he was young. His father was a hunter but was taken by sickness. Obasi lived alone now. He worked hard every day, carried water, cleaned farms, and helped old people in the village. People liked him, but they also said, "He is poor, he is nothing." But Obasi had a secret. He believed in love. He believed one day something beautiful would come into his life. And that day came in the most shocking way. The strange PR wrote one evening Obasi saw a big bird in the forest. It had red wings, a yellow tail, and shiny black eyes. It was not like any bird he had seen before. The bird was stuck in a trap. Its leg was bleeding. "Da Obas," I felt sorry. "Don't worry, little one," he said softly. He carefully freed the bird and gave it water. He cleaned its wound and made a soft bed with leaves. The next morning, the bird was still there. Casey laughed. "You like me now?" Kay named it Akanu, which means helper in the old village tongue. For many days, the parrot stayed with him, followed him to the river, flew around him while he worked, and even sat on his shoulder. Obasi sang songs to it. He shared his food. A bond was made. One night, Obasi sat outside under the stars and whispered, "I feel like nobody sees me. I wish someone did. Someone special." He smiled sadly, picked a dry leaf, and wrote a small message with a charcoal stick. "Your smile is the sun after rain." He looked at the parrot. "Ko Akanu, fly. Maybe someone will read it." He tied the note to the parrot's leg and threw it in the air. Akanu flew high into the sky. "Oh, Bass," I laughed. "Go make someone smile." The queen's lonely art far away in the great golden palace of Mabala lived Queen Sarah. She was young, only 20, and her skin was dark and smooth like polished stone. She wore gold around her neck and diamonds in her ears. But her heart was not happy. She walked through the palace gardens every day, silent and sad. Her people called her Queen of Beauty, but nobody called her by her name. Her father had died, and the king, her uncle, forced her to marry a prince she did not love. That morning, Sarah sat near the fountain. She looked at the trees and asked, "Is there anyone in this world who loves me for who I am? Not my crown?" Suddenly, a shadow passed over her. A bright red-yellow parrot landed near her feet. She gasped. "What is this?" The bird had a dry leaf tied to its leg. Carefully, Sarah took it. It read, "Your smile is the sun after rain." She stared at it. Her eyes filled with tears. Who wrote this? She looked around, but no one was near, only the bird. She touched its feathers gently. "Thank you," she whispered. The letters BGA on the next day, Queen Sarah came again to the garden. And again the parrot returned. Another message. "Even without gold, the soul can shine." She smiled for the first time in months. Day after day, the bird came with new messages. Short, simple, full of heart. Messages like, "You are more than a crown. The stars envy your eyes. Be free, like the wind." Sarah waited each morning, hoping for the bird. She never saw who sent them, but each word made her feel alive. One day, she tied a leaf to the parrot's leg and wrote, "Who are you, poet?" In the village back in the village, Obasi got the message. He opened the leaf and his heart jumped. She replied. He shouted. He wrote back, "Just a village boy. My words are true." And so it began. Each day they sent messages back and forth. No names, no titles. Just words from the heart. Obasi told her about the trees, the rain, the laughter of children. Sarah told him about silence, cold rooms, and golden halls that felt empty. They both felt seen, felt known, felt loved, but then danger came. The guards followed the Bayarditha. The palace guards noticed the queen smiling too much, laughing to herself. They followed her to the garden. They saw the parrot. They watched it fly away. And one smart guard said, "We will follow that bird." The next day they did. They followed a canoe across rivers, hills, and farms all the way to Obasi's small house. They hid behind trees and saw Obasi talking to the bird. "Found him," said the guard. They returned to the palace and told. The king was angry. "A poor man, writing love letters to my niece. I will show him his place." He sent the guards Obasi to Cain. Was early morning when Obasi heard dogs barking, stepped outside and saw soldiers rushing toward him. He tried to run, but they caught him. They tied his hands and kicked him to the ground. "Why do you write to the queen?" they shouted. "Oh, Bassa, I didn't answer." The parrot flew above, crying. The guards dragged Obasi all the way to the palace. His face was bleeding. His clothes were torn. Queen Sarah heard the noise and ran outside. There, in the palace yard, stood Obasi, broken but proud. Their eyes met. She froze. "It's you, ... double quotes," she whispered. "The poor boy, the poet, the soul behind the messages. The only one who made her feel alive." She walked forward. The guards tried to stop her, but she raised her hand. She looked at Obasi and softly said, "You saw me before anyone else did?" Tears rolled down her face, and in the sky above, the red-yellow parrot circled and screamed. The palace was silent. All the rich people, the guards, and even the king stared at the poor boy from the village. His face was bleeding. His hands were tied. But his eyes were full of light. In front of him stood Queen Sarah, wearing gold, with her crown shining under the sun. She didn't look proud. She looked sad. Her eyes were wet with tears. This was not just a small problem anymore. It was a shocking moment. A queen standing in front of the man everyone called nothing. The red and yellow parrot flew in circles above their heads, screaming loudly. The king stood from his seat. His voice was cold. "Do you know who this boy is?" he asked Sarah. She nodded. "Yes," she said. "He is the only person who ever spoke to my heart." The king's face turned red. "He is a poor village rat. You are a queen." But Sarah did not step back. She looked around. The palace. She saw gold chairs, diamond curtains, and people with fake smiles. Then she looked at Obasi. He was hurt, dirty, but real. "What is a crown if it makes me feel lonely?" she said. "I will not marry a prince I do not love. I choose truth." The king shouted, "Enough! Guards, throw this boy in the dungeon." The guards moved forward. Sarah stepped in front of Obasi. "If you hurt him, I will leave this palace. I will give up the crown." Everyone gasped. A queen leaving her throne for a poor man. Unbelievable. The king laughed. "Where will you go, child? You don't know the life outside." But Sarah lifted her chin. "Maybe not. But I know love, and I choose that." That night, the sky was dark. Clouds covered the moon. The palace guards were asleep. Sarah wore a simple cloth. She removed her crown and left it on the royal bed. She opened a secret door in the back of the palace. Obasi was waiting there, weak but alive. The parrot sat on his shoulder, without speaking. They held hands and ran. They crossed rivers, passed through deep forests, and walked until the stars faded and the sun returned. Finally, they reached the village. The people of Nuba village were shocked when they saw the queen, a royal woman walking barefoot, carrying water, and wearing simple clothes. But Sarah did not care. She learned to cook on firewood. She helped old women clean their yards. She laughed with the children. She and Obasi built a small house from mud and straw. It had only 2 rooms, but it was full of love and peace. They planted yams and cassava. They sang songs under the moon. The parrot always stayed close, watching them like a guardian from the sky. One day, a little girl in the village cried. Her father had died, and her mother had no money. Obasi sat outside, wrote a message on a dry leaf, and tied it to the parrot's leg. The bird flew into the sky. The next day, the girl found a small gift on her mat, food and coins. Another day, an old man was sick. Sarah sent herbs and healing oil with a message. You are not alone. The parrot carried it. Soon people began to whisper, this bird brings hope. It carries love. The parrot became a legend. People called it the sky messenger. Back at the palace, a new queen was crowned. She was rich, cold, and cruel. She smiled only when people bowed before her. But her people did not sing for her. They obeyed, but they did not love. She had gold, but no peace. She had a throne, but no heart. And sometimes she would see a redendilo parrot flying in the sky and wonder what it meant. Obasi and Sarah stood under a tree with village elders around them. They did not wear jewels. They did not invite kings. They only wore smiles. The elder raised his hand and said, may your love grow like the river. May your hearts never run dry. And the people clapped and danced. The parrot flew above, dropping flower petals from the tree. Years passed. Sarah and Obasi opened a small school. They taught children to read, write, and dream. They told them stories, not about kings and battles, but about kindness, courage, and truth. They taught them that even the smallest person can change someone's world. And on the school's wall was painted a red Nalo bird with the words, hope has wings. One day, a traveler came to the village. He asked Sarah, why did you leave the palace for a poor man? Sarah smiled and said, because in his heart I found my home. The traveler wrote her story in a book, and people from many lands came to see the village where the queen lived without a crown. They saw her working, lazy, and holding Obasi's hand, and they understood true love does not live in gold. It lives in honesty, in sacrifice, in freedom. Now, every morning, the parrot still flies. It lands in places where people are sad, lost, or alone. It brings a small note, written in simple words. Words like, you matter. Be strong. Someone cares. Some say it comes from the sky. Some say it comes from the heart of the queen. But all agree. The parrot is real. And love still flies. Love is not about crowns or coins. It is about seeing someone truly and choosing them, no matter what.